All right, let's talk about something that pretty much goes against everything you've ever heard about building a company. We're going to dive into a story that totally flips the script, how one startup grew into an absolute powerhouse without taking a single dollar from investors. Seriously, not 1 cent.
So that brings us to the big question, right? I mean, how do you even do that? How do you build a 400-person profitable company without any investors? It just seems like it defies all the known laws of the startup universe.
Well, the answer is just as wild as the question. You do it by basically taking the conventional rulebook and throwing it out the window. We're talking about systematically breaking every single rule you've ever been told. This isn't just a different strategy, it's a whole different way of thinking. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at just how big they got with zero funding. Then we'll get into the specifics of their contrarian playbook. After that, we'll unpack this amazing ecosystem flywheel they built. Then we'll talk about their AI scaling secret, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with what we're calling the bootstrapper's code.
Okay, so first things first, let's just wrap our heads around the scale of this thing. Because the numbers are, well, they're pretty mind-blowing when you remember there's no venture capital involved here.
We're talking about a company with around 400 employees. That's not some tiny team in a garage, right? That is a serious organization, and it was built completely on its own steam, on its own revenue.
And that's the key right there. It's completely bootstrapped. That means they funded the entire operation themselves right from the very beginning. And get this, they're not just scraping by, they've been profitable for over 3 years. This isn't some lucky break. It's a proven, sustainable model.
All right, so the how is where it gets really interesting. This is their core philosophy, their contrarian playbook, and the name says it all. It's basically about looking at what everyone else in the startup world is doing and doing the exact opposite.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at the conventional advice. Raise money, focus on one product, protect that product like it's your only advantage. But what did they do? The complete reverse. They stayed bootstrapped. They made a bunch of smaller, parallel bets. And they figured out that their real competitive advantage, their moat, wasn't the product itself. It was their distribution and their talent.
And you know, this wasn't just something they stumbled into. The founder, Varun Maya, put it perfectly. He said, "We kind of did the opposite of what Reddit and Twitter were saying. They were deliberately going against the grain. That takes some serious guts."
So what allows you to think like that? It all comes down to this core concept called first principles thinking. The idea is simple but powerful. Instead of just copying what other people do, you strip a problem down to its absolute fundamental truths, the bare bones. And from there, you build a new solution from scratch. You literally question everything.
Okay, so where did all this contrarian first principles thinking actually lead them? Well, it led to maybe their most brilliant creation, what you could call an ecosystem flywheel. And this thing is genius because it took their single biggest problem and turned it into their greatest strength.
Now, to really get how this flywheel works, you got to ask yourself a question. In this total gold rush of online content, where everyone is a creator, what's the one resource that's actually truly scarce?
The answer? It's not money. It's not even ideas. It's the video editor. Finding skilled people who can actually make all that content, that was the massive bottleneck, not just for them, but for the entire industry.
So what do you do when you can't find talent? You create it. That's the heart of their flywheel. Step 1, identify the bottleneck, video editors. Step 2, and this is the crazy part, they built a school to create that talent for themselves. Step 3, they took all these amazing new editors and used them to build their own media channels, their own distribution. And finally, step 4, they started selling access to that talent and that distribution as a service to other companies. It's this incredible self-fueling engine.
And we're not talking about a small workshop here. The scale is just massive. They have trained over 3,000 video editors. Think about that. They've built an unmatched pipeline of talent that just keeps feeding their entire system.
But okay, a human talent engine is one thing. They didn't stop there. The next move was to pour gasoline on the fire by layering technology right on top of this ecosystem. And that's where we get to their AI scaling secret.
Their whole journey with AI avatars is just a perfect example of how they operate. Back in early 2023, this was just a weird experiment that, frankly, people laughed at. But fast forward to the end of that same year, and YouTube is calling it the world's largest AI avatar. And today, it's a key piece of their content engine, generating hundreds of millions of views.
And here's the really critical insight. Their advantage wasn't just the AI itself. I mean, those models are becoming available to everyone.
The real magic, their real moat, was combining that AI with their massive in-house army of trained video editors. The AI created the first draft, and the humans perfected it. That combination of scale and quality, nobody else could touch it.
And they had the data to back it up. At a time when everyone, and I mean everyone, was saying, there's no way people will watch an AI presenter, they just ran the tests. And what did they find? When you looked at views, likes, comments, there was basically no difference between the human and the AI. Their wild bet had absolutely paid off.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? How can we apply it? Let's try to boil this entire amazing story down into a few core principles. Let's call it the Bootstrapper's Code.
All right, here it is. Number 1, own your own distribution. Don't be a slave to someone else's algorithm. 2, create your own talent. Solve your own bottlenecks instead of just complaining about them. 3, layer technology on top of your core human strengths. Don't replace people, empower them. 4, make small, parallel bets. You don't have to go all in on one big idea. And finally, number 5, generate real wealth and share it with your team. It's the best way to keep your top talent around for the long haul.
This quote from the founder just says it all, doesn't it? We were fully aware every day that nobody was coming to save us. That's the bootstrapper mindset. There's no safety net. No VC money is on the way to rescue you. And that kind of pressure, it forces a kind of focus and creativity that you just can't buy. And so that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. In this new age of AI, where technology itself is becoming a commodity, is the ultimate competitive advantage not the tech, but an ecosystem of people that you build and nurture and own? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for diving into this with me.